All right. Hi, guys. Good morning. Am I audible?
Good morning, Rajiv.
Okay, great. Thanks for waiting. I'm late, not because I got up late.
Hi Rajiv, good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. I got up not late. I got up early, but there's a bit of a situation. We are in like a curfew. I'm in a curfew kind of a situation. Thanks to COVID, so things are a little slower than normal, right? Where I'm right now, taking the class from. So you got to be a little patient and understanding with me. I'm sure this can happen with any one of us. Okay. Not that I want to start late. That's not the intention at all. So like just to give you an example, there is no movement allowed at all during the weekend. Absolutely no one allowed to even move out of the house. And this for the entire city. So stocking up essentials. Today's the first weekend for all of this. So it's a little tough. Okay. Cool. I hope things are better on your side. And not as bad as here.
No, Rajiv. Actually, one of my colleagues is infected and she is admitted to the ICU.
Oh God. Okay. So cost of yes, things are bad. Things are bad, right? Are you staying? Are you in the state of Maharashtra? Well,
No, Rajiv. I'm in Calcutta.
Yeah.
Though I have left Calcutta fearing the resurgence.
Okay. No, but here in Maharashtra, like in Mumbai, it's bad. We have no oxygen tanks, literally. Like last evening and last entire week, not just one day, and even today, because there are no beds and very little oxygen, people are actually, in some people are using the auto rickshaws and the taxis to lie flat, and the portable oxygen masks are being used. So it's that bad. So I'm actually battling with these kind of scenarios around. Let's see how this shapes up. Since I've never seen this kind of a scenario, and then we can't buy groceries, no milk, no veggies, nothing. Weekend is nothing. Weekday 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's it. Whatever you want to get done, and that too very limited. So yeah, last week was a complete struggle. So it's today. It's like really sad and appalling, the kind of scenario in the city. Looks like a war zone. Okay, guys, thanks for being patient again. I know I read a few messages here, but be patient. Things are not normal, right, these days. Okay, good. So let's start straight off the bat. Did you guys go through the valuation document? Any questions from that? Any thoughts? Any questions? We'll move ahead on that today, but I want to wait for any questions, any thoughts. Quick recap, since it's been like a while. Quick recap on valuation as of now. Yeah, anyone? Yep. No one? No recap? No memory? No questions? No learning? Cholo, I read on the Telegram, people are impatient to start the class. Now that we've started, no questions, no interaction. Wow, that's great. So, no questions. Any recap?
So Rajiv, if I may start. So
Arey, why? You should have started long back.
yeah. So we made attempts at valuing a company, but not by the conventional methods. Even though we did look at the conventional methods such as DCF, and the we tried to factor in cash flows, but what we did arrive at was a method known as PTM, where we benchmark companies in similar industries and similar spheres, and we take the value that is persisting on the street, that is like going around in the industry of the same of the same industry, and we try to arrive at a value using those. And from after that, we did come across for some examples, like if we want to change our job, so what is the figure that what is the hurdle rate we would be coming across. That is like a real life example you gave us in order to like understand better. And finally, and before that, we did come across something known as the that is the what should I say? It's the ones we use as beta. Actually, that is we arrive at a equity discount rate. That is, so for arriving at the discount rate, we factor in the differences between the market index rates which it offers and the rate offered by the risk-free instruments, and we arrive at a discount rate. If we are using DCF as a cash flow, that is, we use the cost of equity as a discount rate. That is, that's what I could gather actually in bits and pieces.
Okay,
So
that's good. So any questions, any clarifications, anything that's still on your head, not clear as far as uh, valuation using PTM goes? We will do a case study, okay, which where you'll actually value. I'm going to give you a case study today. That's what we'll do today. Okay. Okay. No. All right. Cool. Uh, okay, I have a question, Ria. There is no boutiques in airline specifically because airline IB is generally done by the large banks. City where I used to be working, it did have a very special. It had a sizable airlines team. Uh, Netixis is the other company. It's a French bank. That I mean, I know Netixis because of a lot of European counterparts for us in the airline space, and these two largely, and then of course, no, there's no very difficult to get a boutique of airline. Most of them would be then offshoots of uh, you know offshoots of an airline, commercial pilot or whatever, and started it out. So yeah, which one did you find? One or two? Which one did you find? F group. Okay. Interesting. Great. So you have one, right? So the idea is to get into not specifically airlines. Again, it's like you know, looking at investment banking or looking at investment banking as an industry, right, of the industry choice, not necessarily a good wise option, because instead you would rather get into transportation IP. That's a little larger. Don't be don't super specialize so soon. Specialize, but don't super specialize so soon. You get my point? Yeah. So, okay. All right. Great. So let's continue. Okay. 1 second. Okay. So who's tracking Fig? Let me now. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to ask a question just open-ended for anyone to respond. I'm going to cold call people and ask them. Okay. And that's the worst way to get people to interact. I don't know why, but I may have to do that. So let's go to Ananta. Ananta, what industry are you tracking? What have you chosen thus far? Now that we are into valuation, you should have chosen pick one industry.
Have chosen pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceuticals. Okay. What? Tell me about the recent deal in the pharmaceutical space.
No, Rajiv, I have not read that.
Huh? Sorry? I
Sorry,
couldn't hear you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Rajiv, I have not gone through all.
Okay. So how can you say you're tracking pharmaceutical industry? You've not done anything. So how can you say you're tracking?
No.
So the answer is you're not. Are you tracking any other industry?
No, Rajiv.
So virtually you're not doing anything.
No.
And then how do you expect to have, crack an interview? Which probably this will be the first question. You know nothing about an industry. You can't talk. How do you expect to crack? Right? So it's something you have to reflect on. Okay. Okay. Let's go to Abhishek. What industry have you picked up, Abhishek? Abhishek?
Yeah. Hi, Rajiv. Good morning. Yes.
Morning. Yes.
Rajiv, I have chosen automobile as my primary sector.
Okay.
But I haven't read about it much because I have exams in June, so we'll occupy there.
Like CFA exams.
Sorry?
CFA exams.
No, I have CS exams. I have the professional one to FTA one too. So I have a couple of modules to give. So
Okay.
yeah, so I know it can be called as an excuse, but that's the thing I have to say.
But think about it, no, Abhishek. I know you're an exam. Everyone has something or the other going on. Okay.
Indeed.
But in the interview, no one's going to ask you CS mein kya pada, unless you're applying for a company law or a CS role, right?
Yeah, right.
Get that point. An ID interview never bothers about this. Correct? Unless you're applying for that specific role in compliance or whatever is needed, right?
Yeah, right.
Or running
right.
a board. Yeah. Okay. So guys, okay, let's go to some. But yeah, I wish you luck for the exam. Do well. Every qualification, every degree, every learning is important, right? It comes
Thank
in
you so
handy
much.
any point.
Thank you so
Nothing goes waste ever.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much.
As long as you apply it. Okay. Cool. Let's go to let's see. Let's pick Swati. Okay. Swati, what industry are you tracking? Can you hear me, Swati? Are you able to speak?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Pharma.
Good morning. Oh, cool. Yes.
Good
That's
morning.
okay. Okay, tell me about a recent deal in the pharma space. What's happening?
Basically, I heard that Teladoc has acquired that Levango, and one more company was there. So it is a telemedicine company, Teladoc, and it has occupied Levango in the critical acute diseases section.
Okay,
That's what
fair,
I've heard.
fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. I need to know more, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Uh, okay. Chalo. Let's resume. We were on beta, right? We will look at one model where beta is attempted to calculate a real life model where I was involved in, but we never used it for whatever reasons. Okay. But let's move ahead. Okay. All right. So I think we were discussing discount factor, right? Discounting factor last time. We were looking at cost of debt, which is easy to observe, right? The challenges with DCF. Okay, who needs DCF? Who needs PTM? PTM is also known as relative multiple. Okay, precedent transaction multiple, relative valuation. Okay, we were looking at cost of equity. Okay, where the components are risk-free returns, which are relative, right? And think about what's happening today. What will you do if such a scenario happens again? So risk returns always, are distorted. Okay, and your AAA rating is relative, then BB doesn't mean it cannot default. Okay, and think about even AAA rated countries who have manipulated the money system. Okay, the money markets and the money supply in their respective economies are printing more currency because no one stops them. Why? Why? So let me ask you, why? Why can a country, why can a few large companies, or why can economies print their own currencies without having to ask anybody, and which ultimately leads to manipulation of the money system? And when money system is manipulated, risk-free rates are difficult to compute. Yeah, do you agree? Are you guys with me on this? Yeah. So why do you think countries can print their own currencies without having to ask anybody? What's the reason? Let me test.
Because currencies, the US dollar particularly, they came out of the gold standard. They don't have to print against gold anymore.
Absolutely, spot on. So that was the Bretton Woods standard, right, Kaustubh?
Yes, Nixon did away with it.
Correct. Richard Nixon did away with it and say, you can print currency without having to calibrate that with the gold reserves a particular country holds. So when the US dollar was delinked from the gold reserves that the United States was holding, US Mint, the Treasury, was given a free hand, an independent mandate. You can now that they can decide how much currency to print, how much currency to circulate, and how much currency to suck out from the system. Basis what the Federal Reserve's governors, there are about 6 to 7 Federal Reserve governors of the United States. How much of the what do these think as a majority, right? So the Federal Reserve of New York, Federal Reserve of every major state has at least one. Okay, it has one. Every state has one, but not every Federal Reserve governor has equal influence in the central banking. There are about 6 to 7 who have an equal influence in the central banking of US. So you guys need to understand all these nitty-gritties. Okay, it's a macroeconomics question, public finance question actually, which you may be asked. Okay, and I'm just helping you with here as an interview question, right? And that's the reason why risk-free returns are difficult to rely on. Okay, and you can say take the example of 2008, the global financial crisis. I think Kaustubh mentioned this, right? QE1, QE2, QE3. There were staff loans, and all of those many bailouts that happened by printing currency from the treasury. So then how can you say this is a safe currency? Okay, and when the treasury is printing its own currency, okay, so that the consumption does not affect, isn't that a technical default? Do you guys what do you guys think about it? Isn't that a technical default?
Yes, like you are trying to increase consumption without any actual growth in industrial production.
Correct. So and that is a technical default, right? Although on paper it means that हमने default नहीं किया, but hey, the very fact that savings to investments was not mobilized back into consumption, and that had to be made by printing more currency by the central bank and the treasury, means people have actually defaulted, right? It's just under the covers, and that's why you have the 0% interest rate and the likes, right? Which creates another bubble. Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone. Yeah. So
Yes.
Kaustubh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Kaustubh, you have to say something.
No, Rajiv, I just said yes. Agreed with you. That's it.
Okay. So Kaustubh and I are on the same page, but are others also on the same page? Do we have a clarity on this?
Yes.
How flawed the cost of equity and weighted average cost of capital can get because of these reasons, right?
Right.
Okay. So you need to structure your responses, right, in an interview like this. You break them down and say, hey, now tell me how you do it. Okay. Awesome. So there we go. And then we were at beta, rate of inflation. I think we discussed about the hurdle rate also, right? Which is the actual discount rate. So let's first tackle beta also. Okay, now that we are getting a little deeper into DCF, of course, I'll pull up the model. Okay, but let's get clarity before we even see the model. Okay, so let me ask all of you, what do you think is beta?
It's a stock's sensitivity to the index at large.
Okay, because of stock sensitivity. Okay.
It is basically the risk rate, the security, the market risk which we are gathering, which we are holding.
No, Akansha, your voice is going back and forth. What is it?
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I now audible?
Yes.
I'm saying beta is the risk rate, the risk which we bear on a certain security or on an investment basis the market.
Then what is cost of debt and what is cost of equity? If beta is the risk rate.
Cost of debt and cost of equity are different than beta.
I know that is why we're tackling it separately. But if you say beta is risk rate or rate of risk or how much risk is someone bearing, then what is cost of equity? It has to be a rate. No, beta is not a rate, right? Beta is a number. It's a multiple, correct? It's a coefficient, statistically speaking,
Yes,
correct?
yes. Cost of debt and cost of equity is the portion how much of debt we are holding and how much share rate of equity do we have. While beta is the level of risk we hold into a particular security. So it's
No.
different from the two.
Okay. Let's break the theory. Let's break the theory. Come out of the theory. Akansha, come out of the theory. Okay, you don't have to be theoretically perfect. You got to be practical. Okay. Okay. Beta measures how much the stock is volatile. No, Ria. Beta is not volatility. Okay. Beta is not volatility. Okay. So let's see what beta is. It's what Kaustubh mentioned. Beta is okay, sensitivity of asset A with another asset B. That's it. So what that means is if asset A moves by say 10%, okay, for a time period, okay, how much will asset B move? Okay, and of course vice versa. So it's sensitivity of any asset with another asset. Okay, and beta is is expressed in a number. For example, beta of 1, beta of 0, beta of 2, beta of 1.6, beta of 0.8, beta of 2.4, and the like. So it's expressed in a number. Okay, mathematically, or in fact, even more specifically, statistically, it is a coefficient. Simple. Okay. Don't worry too much about the coefficient part. I'm just letting you know that okay, statistically it's a coefficient. Okay, so it's not volatility. So now the other thing is asset A can be any asset class. Okay, or assets A and B can be any asset class, not necessarily only index and stocks. It can be any asset class because it's sensitivity, right? So you can have betas measured.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, Kaustubh, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I just got it. Like I said, stock and index. So now I get it that it can be any two asset classes. Right.
But you are right. You are absolutely right. That's what beta is. But the only difference is it can be for any asset class. An example, sensitive, like for example, generally the treasury manager along with the procurement manager, okay, in say a refinery, okay, like say Jamnagar Refinery, Reliance Industries, you know, both will constantly measure the sensitivity of crude oil prices, okay, with that of the profitability that the refinery will get per barrel of refined crude. That's also beta, right? Sensitivity. Okay, so if crude,
Yes.
if asset A, the crude oil prices will move, they expect it to move by 10% for the next 1 year. They will estimate what will be, how much will be asset B. Here, asset B is the refining margins per barrel. Okay, how much will that will move in the same time period? Accordingly, they will have their cost structures adjusted. Accordingly, they will either get into a forward contract, or they will buy on a spot, or they will readjust the petroleum prices at the in the markets. That's also sensitivity, correct? And vice versa. Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Akanksha, now clear?
Yeah, now clear.
Practical clarity important, Akanksha. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, now why this is not volatility, it's beta. It's sensitivity. Volatility is very, very different. Okay, volatility. Okay, and I'm going to mark it right here. Vol is not beta. It's called vol. Okay, vol is the range of price band that an asset moves and how often of the same asset class. That's volatility. Are we getting this? Like, I'll give you an example. Have you guys ever seen, like for example, crypto assets today? Okay, very volatile. Why? Because they move in a price band very often, up, down, and that's when we say it is very volatile. Think about it in another scenario also. People say this person's mood is very volatile. We don't know kab patega. We don't know when the person is very cool, when the person is suddenly gets hot tempered. That's volatile. It's nothing got to do with beta. Nothing got to do with sensitivity. Sensitivity is measured. Beta is measured externally. Volatility is measured internally. Clear? And for volatility, we use Vega as a Greek. Beta is a Greek to measure sensitivity. To measure volatility, the Greek is Vega. Okay? Clear now? Everyone makes this mistake. Everyone falls into this trap. Beta, volatility. Hey, no. Okay, you lost points there. Okay, in the interview. And also in your practical understanding. Sounds good? A concept here, beta. Okay. Now let's take some more. Okay. When we say high beta stocks or high beta assets, I'm going to use the word assets. Assets could be debt, it could be a bond, it could be a loan, it could be a share price, it could be stock prices, commodity prices, currencies, anything. High beta assets. Okay, high beta assets. There are low beta assets. Okay, and there are zero beta assets. Okay, and I don't want to use the word zero. I'm going to use the word near zero beta assets. Do you know? Can you think of an example? Zero beta assets or near zero beta assets, like not sensitive or very, very little sensitive, not sensitive as much, doesn't move with respect to others. Can you think?
Are they the GSEC bonds?
नहीं, because they also move. No, GSEC bonds India में move नहीं होता है, but look at GSEC bonds of Turkey. खतरनाक volatility है. Look at GSEC bonds of Brazil. Look at GSEC bonds of Russia. GSEC bonds say he cost to you'll get risk-free rate. No, supposedly, but they themselves are so volatile. GSEC bonds, even of the United States during global financial crisis, was so volatile, right? And they suddenly started moving into high beta range then. They are supposed to be low beta, but they moved to a high beta because of high volatility.
Okay, so near zero.
Samajh raha? Are you with me? Does that logically make sense? Yeah.
Yes, Rajiv, it does.
So I'm now asked, who can answer my other question? Give me an example of near zero beta asset class. Actually, there is only one, so let me just put asset. Yeah, Akanksha, Riya, Swati, Ananta, Shishir, Mansha, come on, guys. No.
Is it the Swiss franc?
Swiss franc will be low beta, very, very low beta, but not
Okay.
zero.
Okay.
Near zero, matlab it is 0 point something like sixth or seventh decimal. So it's almost near, it's almost zero. Low beta will still be 0.01, 0.07, right?
Oh, okay, Rajiv. Then no idea then. Sorry.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Think about it. And this is very interesting. I love asking such questions at the interview. It's a trick question. It actually, this one question, is a very, very good reflection of someone's understanding of financial economics and macroeconomics in valuation, which is important, which is what we're covering now. Okay, but we are all here to learn, so do not stress. Okay, cash. Does that make sense? Cash near zero beta, right? It's not. I mean, cash positions move nahi hoga, right? If suddenly stock prices move up, your cash balance is not going to suddenly change in value. Correct?
Yeah, but it does erode in like value.
That's coming to. The only trigger a cash balance will erode in value or increase in value when there is drastic volatility in inflation. Right? So if you peg beta for inflation and cash, that's the only time you have beta for cash. But if you peg cash with any other asset class, you can't get a beta there. Sensitive कैसे होगा? Hey guys, with me? Is that making sense? Kaustubh, Priya, Shishir.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Rajiv, got it.
But I agree, Kaustubh, it will erode. But it will erode or increase, whatever the situation is, only when you peg it with inflation. If you peg it with any other asset class, with asset B, क्या होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा, right? ठीक है?
Yeah.
Okay, super. Okay, now we have clear understanding of beta. Beta going forward, okay, is now that we know sensitivity. Okay, so that is why we look at asset A, any particular stock, and asset B with the index, and that's when we say, right, whether this particular stock is high beta or low beta, right? So if the index moves by 10%, if the Nifty moves say by 10% in a period of say 1 year, okay, and Tata Motors has moved by say 14% in the same time period, Tata Motors is then said to have it's got a high beta, right? It moves more than the asset class, correct? Are you guys with me? And conversely, if index will fall by 10%, Tata Motors will probably fall by 12 or 14%. So गिरेगा तो भी ज़्यादा गिरेगा, बढ़ेगा तो भी बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ेगा. That's high beta stocks. Can you low beta stocks? Can you give me an example on the similar lines?
Indian Oil.
IOC, yes. ITC, Unilever, Colgate, Cavicare, right? Relatively low beta stocks, not as sensitive. है ना? All good?
I didn't track so much, but I did track IOC and ITC. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
them.
yeah. IOC for sure. You're right. IOC for sure. ITC is also there, no? Cabin Care, Colgate, Glenmark. These are all low beta stocks. Why? Because the industries are very different, right? Whether it is inflationary scenario or a deflationary scenario, we will still consume the consumer packaged goods, right? Our pattern to consume and purchase soaps or biscuits or daily groceries are not going to change. Okay, but if it's a deflationary scenario or an extremely inflationary scenario, we will think twice about buying a car, correct? Because we generally buy cars by taking loans. So industry wise, the betas are very different. Yes. Does that make sense? And actually product categories. Okay. All okay? So far so good? Helpful?
Yes.
Okay. Now, so generally, beta is easily calculated for listed entities. Correct? Easily calculated. Index है, stock listed है, calculate the beta. We will look at the computation. It's a statistical method. Hold on. We will get there once I open the model. Okay, it's there. But beta is generally calculated for listed entities. Okay. What if the company you are valuing is unlisted? Like today, what is the beta for Flipkart? It's going to go public, right? What is the beta for Loda? It's going public, right? What is the beta for Ola? It is going to file for an IPO soon. What is the beta for Zomato? It's going to file for an IPO soon. Correct? All these are the next generation companies, right? No longer you will see Unilevers, wow. No, you will see the new generation companies going public now. So, us case mein, what is the beta? Do they have beta or do they not have beta? What do you think? What do you think? Do they have beta or do they not have? Any thoughts?
Like they are still not public, so if they do have a beta, it would be benchmarked against what? They don't have an index, right? So
Okay.
I can't
Okay.
seem to find the asset class it would be benchmarked against.
Okay. Okay. How about the rest? What are the other responses in the room? Yeah. Akanksha, Ria, others, Sushant, no clue. Okay. So
The industry which is listed and is operating in the same field can be taken as a benchmark as a beta for them?
Okay, cool. So we let's break this down further. That's another question, right? What if the company you're valuing is unlisted? And this will be the case, guys, to be really, transparent with you. This will be the case 90% of the transactions you will deal with unlisted entities. Okay. The Reliance and Amazon deal, Reliance and Future Group deal, maybe once in 5 years we'll get to work. Okay, if you probably can guess, let me flip a question here to highlight the importance of unlisted entity and the opportunity that exists. So let me ask you, how many unlisted deals on an average get done in a year in India?
300 to 400 around?
Okay, that's a good start.
Rajiv, what was the question? Can you please repeat?
My question is, take a guess of how many unlisted deals get done in India in a year's time. Yeah, no clue. Yeah, 405, 400 to 450. Okay. So this is well north of 600. North of 600. Okay, and how many listed deals get done in India through the year? Listed entities में कितने deals होते हैं through the year? कितने आप listed entities तो news में पता चल जाता है, बराबर? Every news anchor shouts about it on the news channel. कितने होते हैं?
Around 10 to 20 deals, you can say.
Max. Correct? Max.
Yeah.
Swati, max. So let's take about 15 deals. What does that mean? You will end up working more on unlisted deals, right? So you have to be prepared more for the unlisted deals. Yeah, do you guys agree? So working with scarce data sets or sometimes no data and still, trying to figure out what the valuation could be. And that is why a precedent transaction multiple. Because unlisted entities ka beta, it's not observable. When something is not observable, you are again shooting in the dark. Just like risk-free rate, right? Has the country defaulted, not defaulted, is not really observable. So again, you're taking that as on face value as granted. Okay. So with that, let's see what if the company you're valuing is unlisted, no observable beta. Okay. Now this you will get it from the exchange. Okay, you will get this from the stock exchanges, observable beta, the list of listed entities. Okay, or you will get it from Morgan Stanley Bara beta. We will look at Bara beta. Okay, it actually publishes a lot of betas, globally. Okay, but what if value unlisted? Flipkart, Ola, Zomato, Finobank. Okay, Fino Payment Solutions. Payments, Paytm, which is also going to be listed, Reliance Retail, which is an unlisted entity today, but is growing massively thanks to Jio and Jio itself, right? आपका valuation तो यहाँ ज़्यादा काम आएगा. This is where you'll probably end up adding more value to the clients rather than looking at the listed entities. So in that case, how do you do this? So what you do is you again build a peer set. Okay, or let me put it, build a peer set. Okay, by taking the closest comparable Okay, companies from the listed space. Okay, okay. Observe their beta. Okay, and take the mean or the median, okay, of those betas. Whatever your this is at the discretion of the analyst now. There is no thumb rule. There is no fixed way to value a company. Okay, it's a craft. It's not a science. Okay, so observe the beta and take the either the mean or the median, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, and imply that mean or the median beta to your unlisted target. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Others? Swati school, others? I'm also laying down the step-by-step process here. Okay. So when you actually start valuing on the case study, you know what to do. Okay. Others in? Okay.
Yes.
What if there is no peer set possible, okay, in the listed space? Can you think of such examples? So I'll give you an example. Reliance Retail, private company, unlisted here. It's a part of Reliance Industries. But if you guys are aware or reading, which I don't know, I'm not sure about. If you're reading about the CPG space and if you're observing the Reliance's retail foray, Reliance has also given signals, very strong signals, that it wants to list Jio as a separate entity and it wants to list retail as a separate entity to unlock value, right? And I think about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, they got the board approval to do this restructuring, correct? So if now the bank, boutique bank you're working with, or a bulge bracket, hey, you know, Costo, Bria, Shishir, you know, let's start valuing Reliance Retail. क्या होना चाहिए इसका? Implied valuation क्या होना चाहिए? Said okay, peer set है. Who's the peer set? What peer sets will you take for Reliance Retail? Huh? What listed peer sets will you take?
Pantaloon. Right.
And only one. Only one. एक ही peer set listed में, retail में. Nestle, DMart, yes. Now you're talking. Now we're talking. Thank you. And come on, give me 3 more. Give me 3 more.
HUL.
HUL.
Unilever's, it's no more HUL, right? It's now Unilever's India. Right? Riya, Avenue तो cover कर लिया ना हमने. DMart is Avenue. Yes or no? Or am I reading it incorrectly? 2 more peers. Come on, guys. Retail is a simple business. It's a well-known sector. कम से कम 15 साल पुराना.
Shoppers Stop.
There you go. Now you're talking. Shoppers Stop. Right? One last. Come on.
There's Future. Pantaloons.
Will you take futures? Will you take future group in today's scenario? Look what's happening. What is the context?
Oh, no. It's in litigation.
Context is important, right? Very, very important.
Yes.
And bus.
And can we take like PepsiCo and Coca-Cola, all these?
You can.
Okay, so PepsiCo.
So here's the thing. Amazing. Thank you, Costa, for asking that question. Okay, which I'm going to mention in bold here. Okay. Actually, not here. It's applicable to everything. Everything. Okay. Please pay attention to that. Everything. Sorry, my bad. I'm going to make it even simple. I'm going to put this in bold. Yeah. Every assumption for valuation. ये भी assumptions ही कर रहे हैं ना हम. Is it this assumptions? We are building the assumptions only, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
So every goddamn assumption for valuation, भले risk rate हो, beta के लिए पेयर सेट ढूंढना है, discount rate ढूंढना है, forecast निकालना है, कुछ भी हो, okay, cost of equity निकालना है, it is and depends on the analyst justification. So if Kaustuv can justify why we should take PepsiCo, great, awesome, go for it, justify it in your valuation methodology. Okay, why have you chosen PepsiCo? Why have you chosen Shoppers Stop? Why have you chosen Unilever? Why have you chosen DMart, ITC, and Nestle? Correct? It has to be well reasoned out. Okay, so what that means is every assumption should be reasoned out with a note. Why? Okay, why? आपने ये क्यों लिया है? ठीक है, I want to understand your thought process. What that means is, okay, every analyst will value the target, same target, differently. Correct? And you reason it out with a note. Why you think it should be valued this much? And that is exactly what price discovery is, right? Leads to price discovery. Okay. Also known as valuation. Valuation is when actual price has been discovered, wherein there is a buyer and a seller willing to transact at a certain price point. तब तक आप सिर्फ वैल्यू निकाल रहे हो, आप वैल्यूएशन नहीं कर रहे. Yeah, agreed. This is true for any assumptions, be it, okay, I'm going to put it here, okay, irrespective of the method. DCF, precedent transaction multiple, liquidation asset back method, anything. There are other 10,000 methods to do. Okay, sounds good. So far, so good. Okay, Aditya, yes. Cool. So we had to find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6. 6 kiosks is good enough. Okay. Now Reliance Retail. Let me ask you, Reliance Retail. For Reliance Retail, आपने Nestle क्यों लिया? What is the basis? Why? Who said Nestle? Sushant. Okay. Why Nestle? And meanwhile, Kaustuv, try thinking why PepsiCo. Meanwhile, Shishi, DMart Q, tell me. Sushant, ITCQ, tell me.
मैंने पेप्सी को इसलिए लिया क्योंकि since it's Reliance Retail, it would have a section for processed packaged foods. So it's if I do a FAR analysis, that is functions, assets, and risks, I think it would significantly correlate with that of PepsiCo. So that's why, but not the entire Reliance Retail though. But with the packaged foods division, it might.
But which kind of packaged goods in Pepsi? Because even ITC has packaged goods. So does DMart. So does
like chips, wafers, soft drinks.
Yeah. So the CSD division, right? The concentrated soda drink. That's the cola space,
yes.
right?
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So does Reliance Retail have its own CSD brand? PepsiCo also has fruit beverages and fruit juices. Does Reliance Retail also have fruit beverages and fruit juices? Think about it. Meanwhile,
Like when I order from Grofers, I see that many brands Grofers has of its own. So
that's
when
private
Reliance
label.
Retail,
Huh.
yeah, yes.
That is called a private label, right? That's
Yes, private
all,
label, right.
That's what all retailers do. Even Shoppers Stop, you will find a Van Heusen at Shoppers Stop, and you will also find Shoppers Stop own private label called Stop, STOP, correct?
Yes.
So my question is, Reliance Retail के पास है कोई CSD brand?
Rajiv, not directly, but when the Future Group acquired the Nilgiris and they acquired further the Big Bazaar, they do have, from the Nilgiris, they do have some beverages to deal with.
So Abhishek, वो deal अब तक हुआ नहीं है.
Then no.
The deal has only been announced. Deal has not closed. Closing and announcing में बहुत different है.
Yeah, right. Agreed.
Okay, it can break off also. We never know, or it can be a regulatory limbo forever. Okay, so guys, why I'm asking you is, well, Reliance Retail has its own CSD brand, which is called as Yes Cola. Okay, it's called Yes Cola. It is placed right next to PepsiCo. Okay. E-commerce, and Reliance Retail will do physical like DMart, and also it will also do a digital like Amazon, correct? Plus it will have private label companies like ITC, Nestle and DMart and Shoppers Stop and PepsiCo. Plus it will do merchant companies from PepsiCo, ITC, Nestle and Shoppers Stop, right? The only glitch that I find कि Amazon का अभी नहीं लेना चाहिए, थोड़ा you have to take it a little later on. Amazon का for Reliance Retail नहीं होना चाहिए, because Amazon's stock price, Amazon is listed, right? Everyone knows this. Amazon's stock price reflects multiple businesses that Amazon is right now into. The marketplace, Amazon Web Services, the entire artificial intelligence technology stack for Amazon. Okay, there are special projects that they are working on, autonomous. vehicles. It also includes their fintech play that is reflecting, correct, on Amazon. Do you guys agree with this?
Yes.
So it is more than just a retailer that the current Amazon market cap is reflecting, correct? But that is not the case for Reliance Retail. But if you were to, build a peer set for Jio, then Amazon makes a lot of sense, right? Because technology is global, right? Versus retail, which is largely regional or national. Am I making sense there? Am I making sense?
Can you repeat the last line about the national and regional part?
Retail is largely a national or a regional play, unlike technology, which is a global play. Doesn't matter where the company is, the consumers will be global. The scale is going to be global, which is the case for Amazon today, right?
Yes, yes.
And Jio, Reliance Jio, just like Amazon, is much more than just marketplaces or a telecom play, right? Jio is a telecom play, it's an e-commerce play, it's a mobile ecosystem, technologies development play, it is a lot of other things, right? Just like, so it will mimic Amazon closer than Reliance Retail mimicking Amazon. Is that making sense? Now is that making sense?
Right.
Okay. Others? Swati is in. Others resonating with that thought?
Yes.
Okay. So what we take away from this is your choosing of the peer set is a craft itself. For that, you need to follow these three things. Field research is a must. Okay. Field research in today's time could also mean browsing through Grofers and figure out इसके product categories क्या है, private label कौन से हैं, Grofers के analytics निकालो, every e-commerce company का analytics मिल जाता है. Okay, fine. Which is the highest selling product category for Grofers today and the likes. Okay, if you're doing e-commerce, but if you're doing physical products like retail, better go and visit these stores. Okay, sounds good. Now you know understanding the business is more important than jumping to number crunching. One reason why I keep pushing you to read, research, read, research, read, research. Uske bina you will not be able to have this handle on valuation. Okay? Sounds good? Listed entities clear? Peer set?
Yes.
Yes.
Now we'll come back to what if there is no peer set? What if there is no peer set? Reliance Retail का तो मिल गया. Okay? But peer set है ही तो क्या करे? Can you think of an example like this? A target company जिसका peer set नहीं है listed space में yet. Indian Railways, Sushant. Okay. When Indian Railways gets listed, okay, sounds good, interesting. Okay, okay. And Acha. So since there are no other examples, Sushant, Railways, Indian Railways list होगा. Are you talking of Indian Railways or are you talking about IRCTC? Which one are you talking about? Railways. So Indian Railways. करेक्ट ठीक है सो इंडियन रेलवेज अगर आईआरसीटीसी लिस्ट ना कूल ठीक है सो इंडियन रेलवेज अगर लिस्ट करना है तो हाउ विल यू फाइंड द पेयर सेट and the question is for everyone okay not just Sushant so help Sushant how will you find a pair set for a target whose pair set is not listed क्या लोगे आप
We can take BNSF and ICE, all those companies.
These are all European companies, right? BNSF is French, correct?
Yeah.
है ना?
So India में तो railways एक ही है, so it's practically not possible.
ठीक है. So one analyst Kostub says take global comparisons like BNSF, which is a French company, and IC, which is a Spanish company. That's one way. That one of the analysts thinks. What are other viewpoints in the room? What are the other analysts saying? No viewpoint of the analysts. Only one analyst will work on this. Sushant, also global market. Okay. Cool. Sounds good. So if there is no peer set possible in the listed space, one way to go forward is look at global peers. Okay, look at the global peers. Sounds good? So far so good?
Yes.
Okay. So you need to be prepared for all of this. Unlisted company hai, to build a peer set. Take the closest, let me recap this. Take the closest comparable companies from the listed space, observe their beta and take the mean or the median as an implied beta. Imply that to your target unlisted company and that starts your DCF. Okay, right now guys we are only on beta. Remember beta itself has so many assumptions now, right? Let's take a stock of where we are. Let's zoom out a little. Okay, कहाँ पर हैं हम DCF में? Cost of debt ठीक है, problem नहीं. Cost of equity so many problems. Risk returns लेना है, okay? यही कहाँ से ले हम? Okay? Beta इतना लंबा है, correct? Then उसके बाद आता है आपका, उसके बाद what comes is okay. Now this one second. Okay. After which we come to the market risk premium. Barabar? Correct? What's market risk premium? This is also called the equity risk premium. What is equity risk premium or market risk premium? Simple terms, man.
The risk you take, the more you take the risk and more premium you get. Matlab,
Okay, Swati, you're there. You've started it, but for all clarity now. For all clarity now.
Any equity would have a greater risk in terms compared to that of a risk-free security. So whatever the extra risk we are undertaking, there has to be a corresponding amount of premium which needs to commensurate that risk. So hence the equity risk premium.
Okay. Okay, Kaustubh, I hear you. Any more responses? Any other response?
So I feel it is said that the higher the risk, the higher the premium. So it is that concept. If you are picking up something from the market, the premium depends upon the kind of risk that you are taking.
Okay.
it is something the investor wants to earn from their investment. Like,
Okay.
It's the expectation of the investor which they want from the market, and what exactly is the risk-free rate. So the difference would be the market risk premium which they should be bearing to.
Okay. Okay. So everyone's right. Let's put this a little bit. Let's put a little bit of perspective in this. ठीक है, हम कर क्या रहे हैं? Let's zoom out because ECF can become so nerdy. हम इतना detail में जा रहे हैं. थोड़ा सा zoom out करें. Let's see where we are right now. What are we calculating? We are calculating the weighted average cost of capital, right? What is the cost of capital? Correct? Everything falls under that?
yes,
उसके अंदर ये सब है ना? Correct? We are computing this, right? Cost of capital, cost of debt. A business is financed by debt or may not have debt. Great. Very easy to observe. We plug it in. Okay. Then okay, cost of equity निकाल रहे हैं. Cost of equity is basically we looked at cost of equity means to the business owner how much money should I be investing to take home how much. उस कैसे आएगा? That is dependent on the risk-free returns. Now this is as per the weighted average cost of capital as per the CAPM model, capital asset pricing model, right? Which is what? Which is what? Tell me. Risk-free rate, correct? Plus
beta.
Plus beta, then
Beta
into
RM
market rate minus
minus
risk-free rate. Market rate
RM
minus
minus
risk-free rate.
RF.
so RFR minus equity risk premium, right?
Yes.
I think it's the other way, if I'm not mistaken. RM minus RM.
Because ERP will be higher than RFR. Correct? Effectively, this means what is the market risk you are willing to bear, right?
Yes.
Equity risk minus risk free, correct? So risk free rate मतलब आपका पैसा डूबना ही नहीं है. Risk rate इस country में आपको 6% मिलेगा. कुछ नहीं होगा, principal के साथ with the timely interest you will get it back, risk free. But if you want higher rates of return, you want to earn more than 6% or 6.2% precisely as of today, you will have to bear some risk. That risk is the equity risk. Which asset class is risk? Which asset class is riskier than risk-free rate? Equity, right? Equity is riskier than debt because there is no fixed cash flow, correct? There is no fixed stream of income. I'm not talking of dividend because dividend again I think it's an illusion. Okay? Sounds good. That's the equity risk. So you are paying more. Okay, you are paying more. So this effectively is what? You can say it in other ways. Effectively, this is the market risk you are willing to bear. It's a premium you pay. Just like for insurance, we pay a premium. It's a premium you pay, okay, for a sensitivity. This is a sensitivity, we just discussed it, for that asset class, okay, and you to extract to earn higher returns. Okay? So far so good. Do we understand this equation, CAPM now?
Yes.
Acha. Now my one question is cost of debt kahan gaya? Where is the cost of debt covered? That debt covered.
Risk free, in risk free.
Correct. This is no, not risk free. Not risk free. Can't be risk free. Cost of debt kahan gaya isme?
Rajiv, if I recall, as per the CAPM, we find it only for the equity shareholders' point of view. The cost of debt could be like it will be calculated separately. That will be cost of debt by interest. I mean, there is a method which we calculate. I think that's what you're referring to.
Okay, Abhishek, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Fair enough. That is straight from the book, right, Abhishek?
Yeah, purely bookish. I mean, that's what I know, honestly.
But I'm talking street-wise, board level, street-wise, kaise? I want you to think. I will give this, but I want clarity of thoughts. Logic clear hona chahiye. Yes, cost of debt आ गया. Guys, come on, wake up. This is cost of capital, right? Correct. Cost of capital. Okay. Now think. Let's look at this a little microscopic now. Okay. This market risk premium that we are calculating, which is equity risk minus the risk free, correct? This equity risk or market risk, does it also not include the cost of debt for that company?